Now, when it comes to buying our race kit for a triathlon, there's two options available to us really. We can have a one-piece or we can have a two-piece bit of kit, which essentially does what it says on the tin. You've got something for your bottom and for your top half. There are some other complicated factors like sleeved or non-sleeved suits, but today we're simply going to focus on choosing between one-piece or two-piece.
Well, irrelevant of whether you choose a one or a two-piece, the idea of a tri-suit is you wear it for the full triathlon. So it's important that it's comfortable for the swim, the bike and the run. And in the majority of cases, you're probably going to be wearing a wetsuit for your swim. So in that case, you'd wear your tri-suit underneath it, and then when you get to transition, whip your wetsuit off, and you'll be wearing your tri-suit for the rest of the event.
So to give you some sort of comfort when you're on the bike, most tri-suits, well, they come with the chamois pad, which is really very similar to what we have in our cycling shorts, just not as thick. And the idea of it is that it gives us, well, just enough padding to be comfortable on the bike, but crucially not so thick that it soaks up most of the water in the swim and then makes us feel like we're running in a nappy.
Okay, let's start by taking a closer look at the one-piece, also sometimes known as a single piece or simply a tri-suit. And the most obvious thing is it's simple, it's straightforward, and there are obviously less openings for drag. So say, for example, you're doing a non-wetsuit swim or a pool-based swim, then it's going to be better for something like that.
Yeah, and it's also a lot more aerodynamic as well, because it is just this one piece of kit that we're wearing. There's a lot less openings and seams that can cause drag. And if we think about something like a aerodynamic one-piece skin suit that you see cyclists wearing, for example, they are really tight-fitting to kind of beat the wind and stop any turbulence being caused. And these one-piece tri-suits are very much like that. And another fact as well, that through the waist, they're just a little bit more compressive and tight-fitting too.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why you see athletes who are doing the shorter distance races, so sprint or Olympic, pretty much always going for a one-piece, because it is just simple, straightforward, and it kind of somehow feels a bit faster.
But that changes as we go up through the distances when we're racing for longer, because, well, what happens if we need to stop to go to the bathroom when we're racing? You can do it in a one-piece suit, but trust me, it is a lot harder to try and take one of these things off, and actually even harder again to try and put it back on when you're a sweaty mess. So I really would suggest that two-piece is better in that example.
Well, I think that leads us nicely on to the two-piece. Well, as Fraser mentioned, wearing a two-piece is much easier and quicker when it comes to going to the bathroom. That's because the top can just stay in place. But that said, it does mean you're going to need a fairly tight waistband on your shorts or a drawstring just to keep them in place. And some people don't like that feeling, can be a little bit restrictive, and even give the feeling of love handles, which isn't necessarily very flattering.
No, perhaps not, but they can actually be a lot less restrictive, which is definitely a good thing as we go up the distances, and particularly if we're racing in a hot climate. I mean, a short sleeve vest like this, for example, just allows more airflow to hit the body and then the heat to escape better.
Now, the problem with a one piece, you've got to literally find a suit that will fit your whole body proportions, and we're all different shapes, as we know. So a two piece, you can quite often mix and match, and it doesn't matter if the top slightly overlaps the shorts, so you've got a little bit more leeway when finding that really perfect fit.
Although the two-piece can perhaps lack an aerodynamic advantage perhaps compared to the one-piece. You can find that the top will bunch up a little bit because obviously it's not connected to the shorts that we're wearing. You might find that the zipper will kind of crunch and bunch up, which could maybe cause a little bit of chafing. Right then, Heather, what are we going to choose?
Well, the first thing to consider is whether the event you've entered is wetsuit legal or whether the majority of events are wetsuit legal. If they're not, and you're going to be swimming in your tri-suit, irrelevant of whether it's a one-piece or a two-piece, you want to ideally have no pockets or minimal pockets because they're just going to fill up with water and add drag to your swim.
Yeah, they certainly are, and we definitely don't want to do that. But one way that we can get around that, if it's allowed in the race that you're doing, is to wear a swim skin. Now, these are more hydrodynamic. They definitely make us swim faster when we're in the water. But then when we get out of the swim and we get to T1, we just take it off as we would with our wetsuit. It is worth pointing out, however, that these are a much more performance-oriented suit, and therefore you might not want to have to invest in that extra suit.
Well, as a general rule of thumb, a one-piece is best suited to the shorter distances and then a two-piece for the longer. And it's actually a rule that I've used so far. So for my Ironman races, I have worn a two-piece and actually gone as far as changing my top for the run. But obviously, it's still very personal and it is subjective. And the most important thing when you're finding your tri-suit is to get something that fits you comfortably and that you're happy wearing.
Absolutely, and if you've got any descriptions of how you've decided to choose your race kits, then please let us know in the comments below. If, of course, you've enjoyed this video, then please give us the thumbs up. Not forgetting to click on the globe to subscribe and get all the other videos that we've got on the channel. And if you want to see a video about how to choose a wetsuit, you can find that up there.
And if you want to see a video on a swim skin versus a tri-suit, that's just here.